This is a 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS Tribute built by Andial. Whew, that's a mouthful.
And we're gonna drive it in search of the answer to the question, can your car have too much horsepower?
I really like how this car is an RS conversion because I love RS flares. They have that like slight little flattened lip up top compared to the regular SC flares. Chef's kiss.
Yep, it's a standout. The Carrera RS Conversion is popular for a reason. It's based on a factory hot rod of a really capable sports car, so yeah, it's hard to go wrong. Yep. And then this was done by Andial, so they didn't go wrong.
Exactly, they did it right. There's a lot, especially nowadays, but even back then there weren't too many, but nowadays there are a lot of Porsche customization shops that don't do it right.
Yeah, or you know, just not as well. I mean,
not as well, yeah.
I mean, very few of them have an engine based on a 935 cranking.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about this whole thing that stands out to me, is that the engine has a 935 crank and crankcase, and the 935 was like probably the most iconic Porsche that I've known since I was a child. Woo! Wow! That is power. This thing is pretty much like, I can't say it's a sleeper because it's a 911, but
it's a red 911 with a ducktail.
It's a red, yeah, but it's also a long hood 911, which, you know, like typically aren't fast.
It looks like a 50-year-old car.
Exactly.
It's just a super well-sorted, well-built car.
It feels nice.
Yeah, it does everything you want a 911 to do.
Yeah, I've driven a lot of 911s, and you've driven tenfold that, if not more. So I think we both have pretty decent butt dynos when it comes to 911s, and this one feels nice. Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Woo! It's amazing when someone's doing pulls in a car.
Yeah.
The driver gets to hold onto a steering wheel.
Right.
I get to hold onto a camera. So what's the wheel horsepower in this, roughly?
The estimated wheel horsepower is about 320.
320. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot to you people at home, but in relative statements, that is a lot. This is a factory Porsche engine that's been modified to make over double the horsepower of stock
of the original car, and even
10A.
Yeah, and 50% more power than the factory hot rod that it's built to emulate.
Yeah, which is crazy. When you're doing a conversion to a car, typically it's like you're trying to match that, but no, they didn't try to match it. They tried to make it even better.
Yeah, they took what Porsche was doing with that, and they did it in a way you would have done it, 20 years later.
Correct. Do you really think a car can make too much power, Tony?
I do, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. If it's only driven on public roads, it will get boring. If it makes more power than the chassis can reliably put to the ground, it's too much.
Yeah, I think the other key point of this too is you need a lot of modifications to match the power, because power is just one part of many.
If the car makes more power than the rest of the components are designed to handle, it won't be a balanced platform and one-sided. Like, you wouldn't even go to a drag strip because you got to stop at the end of the strip.
Something else that's interesting about this car that I personally love is the ducktail.
The ducktail's awesome.
The ducktail is
classic.
Like the 911 thing I like. I know, like, people think of 911s, they're like, the whale tail. The whale tail is it. The turbo whale tail, the T-tray. Nah, ducktail.
So there's an old adage that it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. But I think this car does it one better. It's even more fun to drive a fast car that's built on a slower platform.
Ooh, I like that. Yep, I like that. Oh my goodness. So this car was brought to us because the clutch is slipping, right?
Yep. Under very limited circumstances. So it's doing its job most of the time, but we've managed to get it once or twice to do what the customer experienced, and that was that on hard acceleration in top gear. The RPMs went to the moon and the car wasn't getting any faster.
All right, so now we need to determine if that's because the car makes too much power or the clutch is worn, because by my understanding anyways, the clutch was actually recently replaced, correct?
Yeah.
That would be a sign of the clutch not being strong enough, I guess.
Yep. Well, before we take it back to the shop, looks like we need to get some gas.
Yep, we've used up a lot of this guy's gas today.
I like the yellow shocks.
You do like yellow shocks?
Mm-hmm.
The Bilsteins?
That's what I like.
I like the yellow Bilsteins too. This thing's got some really wide tires. Especially for being, what year's this car again?
1973.
Especially being for being a 73 car.
These are much wider than what would have come on this car.
That thing's got an LSD in it.
To put the power to the road. So with all the extra power, the limited slip differential makes both tires deliver the power to the road.
Yeah, it actually goes to the road, not on top of the road. What else we got under here?
Doesn't leave all this sticky rubber just stuck to the pavement on one
shocks.
side.
We got green shocks up front here, Logan.
Ah.
Big old Bremtech brakes.
These are really big.
Yeah, 4-piston aluminum calipers. They're really stiff so they don't flex when you brake. Obviously cross-drilled and vented rotors.
I guess it's really important when you're adding power to your vehicle to actually be able to stop your vehicle as well, right?
Yeah, when you make more power, you go faster. And when you go faster, eventually, you need to slow down.
Yes. It's not the, what's the saying again? It's not the speed that kills you, it's the sudden stop. Yeah, you want it to not be so sudden.
We got extra oil cooling. So these cars these cars from factory would not have had a front mounted engine oil cooler. But as you make more power, you make more heat. As you make more heat, you got to get rid of it so you don't fry your engine.
I love these IROC style oil cooler ducts. Tony does not, I know, but I like them.
Well, it's a square hole in a round peg, so.
Yeah, it contrasts. it's like the contrast.
Did you like what I did there?
Square hole in a round peg.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we found is exactly what we thought we would find. The clutch slipped in rare circumstances, not very heavily, and was hard to repeat. As we thought, the problem is basically that it just makes too much power for what the clutch can handle. It's making more than it did. The clutch is doing its job to the best of its ability. It's just a little underpowered.
I heavily identify with this clutch. I do the best I can with what I got, but sometimes it's just not enough.
The pressure plate is pretty fresh. You can still see the machine marks, which is a good sign that it's not old and worn out. Unusually though, there's a lot of wear on these fingers for what you see on the machine work. We did find some things with the release mechanism in the transmission. You've got play in these bushings. There's a lack of seals here, so this was resting down this way, and that came out as uneven wear on the fork here. What we were expecting is there's probably a combination of things. One, the clutch is just a little light for it, and we've got things that come along with an old car with lots of history, and that's just a buildup of tolerances and wear on components that together can kind of create a problem.
Especially when it's modified.
Yes.
There's more variables on top of that.
There's always more variables with modification, plus the old parts are trying to keep up with the new parts. And these are actually all new parts as well. In this case, the new part is going to struggle to keep up with the old part, but I'm not a big parts replacement guy, but in this case, we've just got to replace a lot of, just old and fatigued with slight wear parts, as well as some new parts that aren't keeping up. This is the performance clutch kit that is pretty typical to install in an application like this. And so things were done the way they should have been. We're just finding out that we need a little bit more. Step 2.
Oh, yeah. We should check that also.
Yeah.
I'll stop spinning.
Yeah, we need to make sure that the splines for the clutch fit on the shaft too. Nothing worse than getting that all bolted up and you're trying to get the transmission to fit and it won't, and it's because the splines don't work. So old parts, new parts. Now, our new parts, we ordered the Performance Clutch Kit. It's exactly the same as that, but they actually have not included in the Performance Kit a higher friction disc. So we will be using this disc, which will provide more friction than this disc.
Ah, yeah, where the car makes waste, of course.
Why are you like this? This is what happens when the guy filming doesn't understand cars.
That's exactly what happens.
What do you think that really is for? I'm curious.
That's where the I'm gonna say the right thing. I just have to think of it. You know, it's the rod, the steering rod comes through.
The steering rod.
All right, I'm done.
It's the shift
now.
rod. It's the shift rod.
Ah, yeah, the old shift rod.
The old shift rod goes right here. Logan wasn't the kid that held the flashlight and got yelled at. He was the kid that was playing with toys in the background.
No, well, that would happen, but usually I didn't need somebody to hold the light, but I would need somebody with much smaller hands that could reach into an area I couldn't.
That sounds like child labor.
Nope, it's fine if it's your own kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the
I'll keep
rules.
that in mind for future use.
Going back to the friction, you've got that, but the other thing you may notice is that is the width of that. Aha.
That is that, and you can tell by the way it is.
And that's because of the way that it is.
This like sing cut.
Information Ninja! Unobtainium twin plug distributor. 2 coils for twice the power. Twin plugs per cylinder to complement high compression.
Anyway, does that mean it makes more power?
Well, actually, the higher compression makes more power. The twin plug ignition allows us to do that without burning up the pistons.
Fair enough.
So these cars had problems with the engine mount supports twisting and bending. You can see that should be straight, in a straight line, not like a banana. So we're going to replace it with this reinforced piece. It's got this reinforcement rib on the bottom as well as the top, and then this extra piece welded in for extra support.
Awesome. This car is definitely ready for many more thousands of miles. So that begs the question then, right? We've gone through this whole car, right? We replaced the clutch, we've gone over the brakes, and we've all the features of this car, right? Can a car make too much power?
The answer to that is yes. A car can make too much power.
So you're right in the beginning.
Usually.
He usually is. He definitely usually is right in the beginning. I was skeptical at first because I like power in cars. I think that power can be too much for the driver, but it being for the car itself, that's another story. And we've proved that today with all the facets of this vehicle coming together to make this a nice, neat, tight package.
Does this car make too much power?
Not for itself, no. That's for sure.
All right, we're gonna have to make a pit stop. It sounds like my dog's chasing after some deer again.
All right. Can we stop for snacks?